And the
I feel like I'm on a game show.
Yeah,
yes,
you're in a game show.
Yes, it does. It has that opulence of a vine.
Very opulent, yes.
Here we go. We're moving to our blues. By the way, the ring
Those
is
are just
very
mentions,
limited.
right?
Yeah, just quickies. Hello. I'm going to fix my little stand right there. This is your Aqua Hearts.
Heart-shaped.
Heart shapes. Fancy,
show everybody
fancy. Look at those colors.
Absolute perfection. You know, and when I speak of diamonds and gemstones in general, I really want to connect the world of fine jewelry, of perfect diamond cutting execution back to the collection here at HSN. The colors have to be true to form. You have to find that deep Ceylon blue that we see here at the top, and then it contrasts with that really vibrant aqua color of the heart shape.
I'm going to move this around a little bit,
and then
guys,
you
so
can,
you can see.
and then you can see the
Beautifully
shape.
set.
If you think that the lighting is good here, that we're really good at this, it looks nuts. It pales in comparison to what these stones look in natural lights while you have it. And it's the shot on NG is a very good example of that. You see, I really want to blur that line between you know, the world of absolute and the world of fine jewelry. When I look at those earrings on Angie, I don't see that. I don't see, what am I looking at? Is this $129? Is this $10,000? Is it 15? It's, you know, it's really not about the price tag. The jewelry is all about the experience, about the look and the impression that it delivers. So the quality of the cut is paramount, because that's what mimics the world of fine jewelry. And I also picked these colors very, very, very carefully.
Of course you did.
So that they have, like, you know, aquas can be very pale and they can be very washed out. So when I look at a color of aqua, I'm looking for what would be the very best color that you could find if money was no object. Because in semi-precious stones, just as it is true in precious stones, you have all kinds of quality and prices. There are very expensive aquas. There are.
Yeah, of course.
But they're the finest, and they look like that.
Like this.
They don't look pale, they don't look washed out, they look vibrant, brilliant, and they have that density in the color that really makes it precious. And then those two contrasts is really creating the earring as a whole. If we put anything but those darker sapphires on the lobe, it might look drastically different.
Yeah, I think
this is what really sort of, you know, pleases the eye, the two tones.
It kind of blurs in. It's really nice. It's a compliment instead of a distraction. You know, we're down to our final 50 of these. We're going to stop the show. Because we're going to stop the show? We are. We're going to stop the show. No, please don't. Okay. Please don't ever leave me. All right. Here we go. Your Jean Dousset showstopper.